Hey everybody, welcome back to the shop. It's August 22nd, 2020, and welcome to another Flea Market Finds episode. I've got some items that I picked up at a flea market about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and before we get to those, I want to show you guys a vise that I had mentioned in a previous video where I had gone to a flea market and picked a few items. But the gentleman I met there ended up telling me about a workbench with a couple of vices on it. And I went out to his house and I picked up that, I ended up passing on the workbench, but I ended up buying one of the two vices. And it's a really interesting one, and it's a nice beefy one. So I want to take you outside where I've got that sitting on the ground because I just pulled it out of the truck. It's pretty heavy. And rather than tote it down here and be tripping all over it, I'm just assuming going to store that out in the outer shed there and probably pass that down the road pretty quickly. I don't think I'm going to hold on to that one. Right now I've got 3 large vices, so you know what they say about a man with too many vices, right? So let's take a quick look outside at that, and then we'll come back down here and we'll hit 3 items from the used tool store. We'll blow those out, and then we'll get into the pick from the flea market. So this, my friends, is the vise that I fell in love with at this guy's house. Overall length on this vise closed up is about 18 inches, and it's got what appear to be 4.5-inch jaws on it. Yeah, 4 3/4 inches we call it. And this is an early vise made by a Boston manufacturer called Walworth, Walworth. I don't see any damage on it other than this plate has a chunk missing on it right here, but it looks like that went missing a long time ago. So this is the style of vise that you have one hole that goes through your workbench, you drop this down through, or this might have even been on a tripod, because I believe this vise was mainly used for work on site, maybe in plumbing. And the reason why I say that is because this Walworth manufacturing, there's a very interesting story that goes along with this vise. The story, not really about the vise at all. The story I have to tell you about is more about a wrench. Okay, so this is not a Stilson wrench, but it happens to be one of the only large pipe wrenches I had handy that I could grab to talk about Stilson wrenches. So, what is the connection between Stilson wrench and Walworth? Well, quite simple. Around the turn of the century, or somewhere around the 18-somethings, people were getting serious about indoor heating their homes. And they were heating their homes with steam heat, which meant a lot of piping, a lot of plumbing, and a lot of joints that needed to be put together, which meant it would be good to have some big wrenches to do this kind of work. And boy, wouldn't it be nice to have a wrench you could adjust to different sizes for different jobs. Enter the Stilson wrench. So there were more than one manufacturer or inventor toying around with the idea of this design, but it was a young engineer named Stilson who hit upon the magic bullet, so to speak, in wrench design. And where, pray tell, did this young engineer work? You guessed it, Walworth Manufacturing in Boston, Massachusetts. So the story goes that young Stilson actually whittled the first prototype of his new pipe wrench out of wood and brought it into work and showed it to his bosses. And they were intrigued by the design, and he was able to convince them to actually make one out of steel. So they make one out of metal, and I guess they're pretty impressed with the design. And management actually insists that Stilson patented the vise under his own name.
and they refused to buy the patent from him, even though he offered to sell them the patent for $1,500. So instead, C.C. Walworth, the brother of the Walworth manufacturer's founder, who had invented a number of advances in indoor heating, including the Walworth radiator, insisted that Stilson own the wrench out, merely license it to the company. So he basically said, you own the patent, you license it to us, which was a really nice thing to do when you think about it. I mean, Walworth made big money making and selling the wrenches, but because Stilson kept the patent and the licensing agreement was very fruitful. So what ended up happening was Stilson ended up making at least $67,000 from this license agreement, which is equivalent to about $1.9 million in today's money. So how cool is that? So the Stilson wrench became so popular that it actually people just started to apply the name Stilson wrench to basically any wrench that came out with this design. And what was unique about this wrench wasn't just the fact that you could adjust it quickly to change the size, but because of the way that the jaw is slanted and the way it's designed and the way the teeth are raked, it's actually made so that this jaw will move. So what happens is that when you apply force in this direction to tighten, it will actually clamp down and bite into the pipe. But if you back up this way, this will actually move back and release, so you can slide the wrench back up on the pipe and then grab it again. So it almost acts like a ratchet. You know, kind of the same idea. So I thought that was pretty cool, and I wanted to share that with you guys. So hope you found it as interesting as I did. Hopefully I'm going to find a person who can appreciate this vise and the story behind it as much as I do. Oh, and as long as we're out here, this is that big chunk of plate steel that he had on the bench there. It's got some holes in it. It's just a hair over 20 inches by about 14 inches, and it is 5/8 thick. So it's got some heft to it. And then he had this piece of aluminum sitting there. Pretty sure it's aluminum. Maybe not, I don't know. It's aluminum or stainless. Actually, no, I think that felt a little heavy. So, but he just had that sitting there with a pile of junk, and he said that was all just getting thrown out. So I took that too. All right, so at the used tool store, the junk table in the middle where he throws a bunch of stuff, and you know, everything's one price or whatever. This particular week that I was in there, it was all items were $6 a piece. So, some serious money there for the junk table. Anyways, saw this ugly purple thing and opened it up, and I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. Look at that. It's a little Auric vacuum cleaner. And I was looking at it more closely, and I realized, hey, you know, we got brand new bags in here. We've got a couple of wands, several attachments, even some paperwork. And I plugged it in, and it works perfect. So this is a shoulder, not cordless, but it's, you know, the idea is that you put this over your shoulder and you walk around and back up. And I think this might be something they might have used, might have been popular in like I don't know, like hotels or motels where, you know, they just want to do a quick cleanup on stairs or something like that. But I don't know, I thought it was worth $6. And the funny thing is, look at, there's a price sticker right there on it. It was priced for $10 at some place, and probably a yard sale, and it never ended up selling for the $10. And then it somehow ended up in the used tool store owner's possession, and he threw it on his junk table for $6, and he found the sucker. I mean, I ended up buying it from him. that same day, I also picked this up for $6 off of the junk table. So it's an AWS Snap 6 Sperry amp clamp meter, which is kind of funny because I just showed one of these that I picked at the flea market of unknown condition. Took a chance on it and it ended up seeming like it worked okay. But what's kind of neat about this one is it looks very, very clean. So it's got the original pouch, and I mean, it looks brand new. So it's clean as a whistle. So this is unlike the last one I bought, which was a a digital one that you have to put a battery in. This would be an analog model. This one apparently measures voltage, goes up to 600 volt range, and it has two current ranges, 60 amp and 300 amp. So not too shabby there. Place for the test leads to plug into in the back. It's got a swiveling head, which is kind of neat. Comes with the test leads, which is nice. And what do we have here? Is this a temperature probe? Oh, this is the Sperry ohm probe. So this is for testing resistance. So pretty cool. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to keep it. I really don't need multiple amp clamps. And I do believe because of the condition that it's in, this might be a good eBay item. I haven't really even looked into the value on this. I don't think it's tremendously valuable. I think used ones of these don't bring a tremendous amount of money, but again, because of the fact that it's in such great condition, I don't know. And the last item I picked at the tool store for $6 is an item that I would never ever thought I would come across in the used tool store. Help. That's what I need. This is a CB radio. This is a little CB radio that I believe, yeah, it's a GE. Came out with this little radio. And what this is a 40 channel CB radio in a very compact little package. Comes in this little case, plugs right into a cigarette lighter, has a magnetic mount that you slap up on the roof, and has the antenna screws on. And the idea is that you would keep this in your car, under the seat, hidden out of view, and when this is before the days of cell phones, if you got stranded, you could slap this thing, whip this thing out, and in a matter of minutes you could be on channel 9 and radioing for help to the local authorities who would monitor channel 9. So don't even know if it works, and not going to worry about that. Maybe this will rear its head again in a upcoming further episode of the vintage CB collection. So the first buy of the day was this roll of number 12 Romex wire. Not quite sure how many feet are here, but there's enough here to make it worthwhile for me to hold on to this in case I want to add more lighting or something, or outlets to the shop here, because I got this roll for $2. And I'll tell you, at $2, even at the greatly reduced prices that scrap metal are bringing, there's over $2 worth of copper here easily. Next dealer I hit, I bought several things from, but one of the first things I bought was these 3 tap wrenches, which I kind of could see underneath the horrible black paint job that somebody had put on here that these might actually be something nice, like they might be Greenfields or something along those lines. So I decided to take a chance on these, and I got a deal on these. I got these for $1 a piece. So I got these for $3, and then I also, that included a package deal where I ended up getting this for $1, which is, this is a
a gallon of Lubra plate lithium grease. This is a 6-pound can, and it's unopened. It expired in 2008, but I don't think that's going to be a problem for me. I'm not planning on putting this. I'm not going to be packing the wheel bearings on the spacecraft transportation machine or whatever you call it there. I don't know. That would have been a much better joke if I could remember what the hell they call that special vehicle that moves the rocket out to its launch pad. So I'm really curious about this. I'm guessing paint thinner would probably take this black paint off really quick and easy if I really wanted to see what the heck was underneath here. This next little grouping of goodies right here all came from the same dealer. This is a wheel dresser for grinding wheels. I got this for $1. He had a bunch of taps there, and I asked him how much the taps were in the box, and he said, well, he said they vary in price, but he said probably about like $2 a piece. But he said he'd do better on price if I took more. So I started going through and looking at them, and a couple that caught my eye. For instance, well, this is just a 7/8 pipe plug tap. Looks brand new though. But the majority of these are like pulley taps, really long shank taps. So that's what caught my eye about these. So I went through and basically picked out pretty much all of the pulley taps that I saw in the pile there. 3/8 16. That one's brand new, never been opened. Seal's not even broken on that one. Oh, and this big power tap was in there, coated. And this is an M22, so this is a metric one. So I figured, well, you never know, somebody might need one of those. So anyways, ended up getting 1, 2, 9, 10, 11 taps, and this hole gauge was in the box for some reason, and it turns out it's a Starrett, and it works perfectly fine. So I got him to throw that in too. So I got these 12 pieces right here for $10. Then he had these boxes of indicator points, contact points. These are kind of like the generic ones you see they sell in like Travers Tools and stuff. Matter of fact, this one actually says right on it, it's got a Travers tool part number right on it, so that's where these came from. And they're kind of a mishmash. Like for instance, this one right here doesn't have as many in it as these other two. But I asked him how much he wanted for these, and he said $1. And I was very happy to discover he meant $1 for all three. So I got all three of these for $1. I'll sort these out a little bit and probably sell them off, because I have extras already. And then I spotted this bag right here, which also Travers Tool Company. And the description on here is screw for 12-inch, 8-inch, 24-inch square. And it says bin lock, which I would think means Chinese import. But what's in here is replacement. These are replacement screws, clamping screws for combination square, right? And I was like, oh wow, but they're probably metric because they're, import by the looks of it. This one's actually different than the rest of them. But then it occurred to me, what do I have that I'm looking for? I'm looking for a replacement one of these for, and it's metric. The Mitutoyo. Next item I ended up spotting at a guy's table. He had a couple of height gauges, but one was just a cheap Chinese generic one. But then I spotted this one here and realized it was a Mitutoyo, and it's actually in pretty nice shape. And it's got a long rod and one clamp,
And he had $10 on this, and he would not budge on the price, but I figured it was worth the $10. So I bought this for $10, and then he ended up having a pile of junk in a box there, and I spotted this indicator clamp with a rod on it, and he said I could have that for free when we were haggling about this because he wouldn't budge on this. So then when he threw this in, it made it worth even a better deal for me. This is actually an unmarked clamp. It does have a patent date or a patent number on it, which I looked it up, and the patent is attributed to some guy. But I'll tell you, I happen to have a few of these, and it's interesting because they're all almost identical, including this one, which is still in its Starrett box. So I have no reason not to believe that this isn't actually an early Starrett. But I'll just sell it as an unidentified clamp. And then another dealer, a lady who had mostly housewares and stuff, I happened to spot these clamps, and I just kind of liked the look of them, the shape of them and everything. Thought they were kind of neat. And then I noticed they're Sawyers. They're actually branded Sawyer. And I've had some old Sawyer dividers, calipers, and things like that. So not particularly knowledgeable about that particular company, you know, how the history of it, but it's got to be pretty early. She wanted $5 for these. I offered her $3, and we met in the middle at $4. So I got this pair of clamps, this Sawyer parallel clamps, for $4, which I think is a pretty nice deal. And then the last dealer I bought from that day, I ended up putting together a few items, and it's funny. One of the items that I got was here it is. I told him I'd only give him the $3 he wanted for this item if he had a bag. Yep, look at another Eagle oil can, and it's another one that's probably in need of some love. It's leaking, but you know, I've talked about this before. I've got this thing for these, so this will be number 4 or 5 in my collection of these style of Eagle oilers. So I got that for $3. I actually got the 3 items for $18. I figure I'm into this for 3, and I got the other 2 items for $15 for the pair, which we're going to close out this episode with right now. As soon as I go grab them and bring them over. It's a pair of little bench vices, and these are 3.5-inch jaws on these. Nice little vices. This one is marked number 112 on this side. It's got pipe jaws. But on this side, it's actually marked Litco. And it says Littlestown, How, and it almost looks like FDAY, Fide Company. Oh, FDRY, Foundry Company. How and Foundry Company? No, that's kind of weird, huh? So I don't know. Somebody probably knows. But all I needed to see was that it was, everything indicates, says USA. Everything indicates this is an older US made vise. It's got the swivel base. The casting's not broken. You know. So I was like, oh, that's a no-brainer. Well, like I said, I'm into the 2 of these for $15, so $7.50 a piece. And this one, also clearly marked Made in the USA, marked 3.5-inch. Also has pipe jaws, little itty bitty ones, but they're in there. And this is a Dunlap. I can't quite make out what the number is here, but there's a long number on this. It looks like 506-51770.
So I don't know. They're pretty beat up. They've been around the block. But still, nice little vices. I'll make one of my local buyers probably pretty happy with a deal on one of these. I might even let both of them go. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. Alright, so that's going to wrap up this episode of Flea Market Finds. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did picking it. And if you're not a subscriber, please consider subscribing. And I hope you come back soon. Take care.